What's up, guys? This is Gavin at Tap Performance. Today we are going to be working on the CVO ST, and we're actually going to be installing a brand new product that we just released here at Tap. This is going to be our Redline Performance System, and it's going to be a full exhaust system. You're going to get the slip-ons with our performance baffle that only comes with this system, and you're also going to get a step header with the heat shield. So everything you need from the heads back is going to be in this system, and we've done a lot of testing. People put a lot of time in it, so we're really happy with it. I think you guys are going to be real happy with it. So let's get to installing this on the ST, see what it looks like, see what it sounds like, and hopefully when the time comes and you guys are ready to install, this video helps you out a little bit. So I'm going to skip past the real easy stuff, like taking the bags off, taking the slip-ons off. If you are questioning on how to do that, we do have videos on our channel on how to take those off your bike. But let's hop over to the CVO and see what this Redline Performance System looks like on it. And I almost forgot my favorite part of the system, and I'll show you guys here while I have my hands on it, is the tip that comes with this Redline system. It's only going to come with this Redline Performance System for now, so if you're a big fan of these tips, you would have to buy the full system. But let me flip the camera around and show you guys what those new tips look like. So here's that Redline Performance System tip. Looks super clean, and we have our logo laser etched in that as well. It's only going to come in black as far as the tip choices go, and it's only going to come in straight cut. But we could put these on either the chrome shell or black shell for you, whatever suits your needs a little bit better. All right, guys, so we are to this point where we have the bags off, the slip-ons off, we have the heat shields off, and we have that throttle side floorboard off. The next thing we're going to be attacking is the actual head pipe. Your stock head pipe will probably look a little bit different than this. This is our tab head pipe that we had put on this here for just a couple sound clips and cold starts. So we have that on there now, but we're going to remove it because it's not the same header that gets used at Redline Performance System. So we're going to pop this off. I'm going to show you guys just a few tools that you're going to need to get everything off, get that full head pipe off, and then we're going to move on to installing our Redline Performance System. Alright, guys, this is the stepped header in the Redline Performance Series. You can see that we have it drilled for your wideband 18mm O2 sensors, as well as the 12mm stock O2 sensors. It's going to come with heat shields, your choice of color, black or chrome. It's going to come with all the supplied hardware, gaskets, and we are going to have a new crossover as well. And it's going to come with a bracket, and I'm just going to show you guys a few key differences in this head pipe versus the stock one that you might be taking off your bike. All right, just want to show you guys a key difference in the cross under pipe. You can see we have the stock one on top, still have that heat shield there, and then we have our Redline series on the bottom. And the first thing that you're going to notice is that the stock cross under pipe is going to be narrowed down a good amount. We keep this 2-inch diameter right here, and so that's going to help flow more evenly out of both of those pipes. All right, and then this is going to be the stock head pipe compared to our Redline Performance Series. You're going to see the stock on top there, and that is going to be 1 3/4 all the way through. And then you're going to see a big difference between the stock one and ours is we're missing a whole bunch of material. That's because this does not have a cat, which is going to help the flow, and it's going to keep a little bit of heat off your leg in the long run. Our header is a step header, and it's going to start at the 1 3/4. It's going to step to 1 7/8, and then it finishes at 2 inches for both outlets. So after all the easy stuff's out of the way, we are left with the head pipe on the bike and our cross under pipe right here. And we're going to be removing both of these, and we're just going to need a few tools to make our lives easy. We are going to have a 9/16 wrench. Does not have to be ratcheting, just to get that exhaust clamp off that cross under. We're going to have a 1/4-inch ratchet with a decent size extension. We're going to have a 1/2 inch socket deep and 1/4 inch drive. And then the same thing 1/2-inch socket, 1/4-inch drive for shallow for one of the exhaust nuts. Gets a little bit harder to access towards the front of the bike. But I'm gonna go ahead and start doing the uninstall. And we are gonna start with this cross under pipe here and start by loosening this 9/16. Don't know if you guys can see that. This 9/16 exhaust clamp right here. All right guys, this is the ratcheting setup that we are gonna use for this rear cylinder here. It's extremely easy to access these two exhaust nuts once we have the heat shield removed. So I'm just gonna use this setup and get both of those nuts off real quick. So we're gonna use the same ratcheting setup that we just used on this rear cylinder for those exhaust nuts on the top exhaust nut on the front cylinder. So you can see that there. This is gonna reach that no problem. But for the other exhaust nut, we're gonna switch to a little bit different setup. So for that final nut, we just have our 1/4-inch ratchet, 1/2-inch socket, and we're gonna come around to the other side of the bike. On these M8 frames, you can access that nut extremely easy from the front. On this 24, there was this little plastic bracket that I moved out of the way. Once that's out of the way, you can get your shallow socket on there and loosen it up. No problem. All right, we have those 4 exhaust nuts off. At this point, I'm gonna come back over to that cross under pipe. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's gonna be a 1/2 inch as well. So you might as well use that shallow socket that you had out anyways and get that loosened up here. Now we can go to the other side and remove our cross under pipe before we remove the header. All right, last step before we pull the header, we are just gonna be accessing that bracket nut, which is also a 1/2 inch. All right guys, everything is free. We have that nut off that bracket. We have no cross under pipe, and we have all 4 of our exhaust nuts off the bike, off the heads. Kind of like to jiggle this around. Come back to this side with my hand and get those flanges out of the way of the head. Makes it a little bit easier to remove. All right, at this point we have the head pipe off, and we can access our O2 sensors, and we are gonna get those removed and move on to the install process. All right, got the cross under there. I did leave it loose. We will come back and tighten those Allen head bolts a little bit later. So we have that cross over there, and we are just gonna go ahead and get that head pipe installed. And before we get too far ahead of ourselves and have to backtrack, I'm just gonna toss this exhaust clamp onto that crossover pipe right there. And this header's set up for both 18 and 12 millimeter bungs, just like we said earlier. So now it's time to decide what bung you're gonna use. And for us, it's gonna be the 12 millimeter since we're still running the stock ECM. So I have the plugs and a crush washer to fill those 18 millimeter bungs. So we're just gonna toss those in, do a couple other things to prep, and then we will have this header installed. All right guys, everyone's favorite part. Hopefully I can give you a couple tips and tricks to make this a little bit easier on you. This is our old pipe that we just took off the CVO ST. Yours will be either the stock pipe or whatever you're taking off. And we now need to remove our flanges and put them on our new stepped header. But this can sometimes be a little bit tricky. So we are going to separate the actual locking ring from the flange, just like that. And now I'm going to show you guys a tool that you could get at Harbor Freight, from the Snap-on guy, Lowe's, pretty much anywhere. And it is this set of pliers. And what these pliers are is actually piston ring pliers, expanders. And they work extremely well for this exact job right here, even though they're obviously not piston rings. It expands them just enough, and then we can pull that flange off. That easy. This tool is probably around $5 at Harbor Freight, and it's gonna save you a ton of time, a ton of headache, and you're not having to pry that over the flange like that. So super easy to use. I'll show you how to reinstall it, but I'm gonna get that other flange off real quick. Just as easy as taking them off was, it's almost just as easy to toss them back on. So we're gonna start with the flange, flat side first, and then we have obviously that little indent for our ring. Just gonna grab our ring here, our piston ring expanders, get them set there in those jaws, and boom, that easy. We are locked in. I'm gonna get this ring in that indent, install the other one, and we are gonna be good to go. We just have to install the trans bracket, and then we can finally get this guy installed. Here's that transmission bracket I was just talking about with you guys. It actually mounts down right here. So I'm just gonna bust those loose, get this reinstalled, and then we are gonna go ahead and move forward to the next step. Okay, so after all that, we are finally ready to install the head pipe. We have the crossover pipe still there with the new bracket installed and loose for us. We have the exhaust clamp mounted as well. And then we have our transmission bracket mounted for that P clamp. And then we got the flanges on the new head pipe. So I think we're ready to toss it on finally. So for me, I start with both flanges down just like that, leaning on the actual O2 sensors. And once I get the actual pipe fitted up into the head, I usually find a way to finesse that through the remaining gap onto those exhaust studs. That's been the easiest way that I've found. There's definitely people that do it different ways. They like to start with the flange already up there in the head while they're trying to fit it. I think it's just a little bit too much to deal with at one time. So this pipe fits pretty well. Some people do have somewhat of an issue getting it to fit up to the actual heads. Hopefully this trick saves you a little bit of time, a little bit of headache, and you'll see how well this pipe really fits. So of course these two are going to be a little bit tighter. We're going to use the step down of these fins from the cylinder to the head on both sides to squeeze the pipe in there. So we're going to start down here. And we're gonna get that right one on, starting down here, giving ourselves some room. And we have that dead on. And this right one, perfect. So I'm just gonna set this here, get this flange up here. Grab two nuts just so we can get a couple threads started and we don't lose our spot. Awesome, those two are started in the rear. I'm gonna hop towards that front guy and see if we can't get that installed too. At this point, I have the head pipe started in that crossover. So we are torquing our last exhaust nut. We're going to be using that shallow 1/2 inch on that bottom nut right there, just how we accessed it when we removed the old head pipe. And it's going to be a lot of turns, a lot of clicks. It's going to take some patience, but it's going to make you feel, and the bike's going to sound a whole lot better when everything's torqued to spec. All right, we're installing this heat shield, one of the last steps to the head pipe. This is gonna be the bottom section right here. And just wanted to show you guys how to orient the actual clamps. Bottom two facing down, top one facing out. That way you can still access it, and then access those from the bottom, make them look a little bit cleaner. Gonna get this tossed on, and then we will do that one, that heat shield, and then the heat shield on the secondary pipe on the other side of the bike. Putting on this top heat shield, and I just want to show you guys which way to orient the actual clamps. They are all facing the same way, with the actual nut facing down. Here's that last heat shield orientation. Just took the clamps, nut facing down, looks a little bit cleaner, kind of hides those a little bit better. So gonna get everything tightened up, get that crossover bracket tightened up again, and then get the slip-ons and bags on. Alright guys, this is the full system. I did have a little bit of a battery issue, so I wasn't able to record myself putting on the slip-ons and tightening the exhaust clamps, but that is the easiest part of the job. And if you're worried about the install on the slip-ons, head on over to our YouTube channel. We have instructional videos there. But this is our installed Redline Performance System with the step header, with the slip-ons, with the baffles that we designed for this, and then the tips that only come with this Redline Performance exhaust system. Alright guys, once again, thank you for sticking around for the full video. We just installed that Redline Performance System. Like I said, that's going to come with the step header. It's going to do the slip-ons, the baffles that we designed for this system, and it's going to come with the tips that you can only get in this system too. It's going to have everything you need in the kit as far as gaskets, plugs for the other bungs, so you can run the 18 or the 12 mil, the narrow or the wide band. So if this is something that interests you, by the time you're watching this video, it is live on our site. So we'll be ready to ship it out to you. If you have any questions or concerns about this system, give us a call here at Tab. We're always happy to answer any questions you guys might have. But for now, I think we're gonna get this bike off the lift, roll it outside, and spray her off for a few pictures and sound clips.